life flashes before your eyes, what will you see?
It's the first ever recording of a dying human brain.
And I just started seeing flashes of images. I mean, it was unbelievable.
On a spring day in 1981, Tony Kofi saw his life flash before his eyes. But it's what Tony's seen that was so shocking. He had never even left Nottingham, but
I saw places around the world. I saw faces I've never seen before. I saw young children that I've never seen before that was to become my children, I guess.
how was this possible? And were these just random images? Or did the things he's seen actually come to pass?
Dr. Ajmal Zemor is a neurosurgeon at the University of Louisville who led the study. He says the patient's brainwaves are similar to what's seen in people when they're dreaming, recalling memory flashbacks. And he says the pattern fits the description of what some have described after surviving a near-death experience.
But there was one image in particular that changed the course of Tony's life forever.
And the one thing that really stuck in my mind was me standing up and playing an instrument. And I just thought, this is the most weirdest feeling in my entire life. And then that was it. I completely blacked out.
Never before insights into life flashing before our eyes and how we think about a person's final moments on the planet are coming to us from two major scientific studies. First, from Dr. Ajmal Zemar, a co-author of the March 2022 study, said that the team accidentally got what was the first ever recording of a dying human brain.
One that happened entirely by chance. Doctors were running tests on an 87-year-old patient with epilepsy when he suddenly suffered a heart attack and died while he was still hooked up to a machine that was measuring his brain activity.
It revealed that in the 30 seconds before and after death, the man's brainwaves followed the same patterns as dreaming or recalling memories.
What we find is a very similar pattern of brain waves happening in the phase 30 seconds before the heart stops pumping blood into the brain and 30 seconds after the heart stops pumping blood into the brain. That was quite astonishing to us.
Now back in Nottingham, England, it was a beautiful spring day in 1981 when a 16-year-old Tony, working as a carpentry apprentice, was helping to replace an old roof of a 3-story house. He was sawing a 2x4 length of wood.
And it splintered. You know, I didn't saw it properly. So it caught my sleeve and took me down.
Tony started to fall. His first thought was that he could not possibly survive, and so, he says, he just completely relaxed, let go, and closed his eyes.
The fall became so slow.
That's when his life flashed before his eyes.
And I just started seeing flashes of images. I mean, it was unbelievable. I saw places around the world. I saw faces I've never seen before. I saw young children that I've never seen before that was to become my children, I guess.
And what about those images he had never seen before that Tony saw as he fell from the roof? Did he really see into his own future?
And the one thing that really stuck in my mind was me standing up and playing an instrument. And I just thought, this is the most weirdest feeling in my entire life. And then that was it. I completely blacked out.
The second major scientific study researching this phenomenon is from doctors out of Hadassah University in Jerusalem, and the things they found shocked everyone. They questioned 264 people who went through near-death experiences, and the participants admitted what felt like the final moments, time was no longer a tangible measurement. They couldn't quantify how short or long these flashbacks were. There's a lack of time limits. It was like being there for centuries, one respondent said. The doctors used the term life review experience when talking about life flashing before someone's eyes. Some people described their life review experience as continuous. It was like a flashback, like watching a movie flashing before my eyes, said one person. For others, it was simultaneous. You know it all, simultaneously. It wasn't fast, it wasn't speeded, it was just instantaneous, said one participant. The period of time reviewed during a life review experience was either the person's whole lifetime or sections of it. And unlike Tony's experience, for some of the respondents, the life review experience was further extended into the future. As one person described it, I also saw my possible future, and I still have deja vu of the events that I remember from that experience. A recurrent theme in the respondents' reports involves self-evaluation. Experiencers often clarified that despite potential regrets or frustrations that may evolve in a life review experience, the experience did not feel judgmental. For some, it was about learning or realization rather than regret. But some respondents did mention regret. "I felt guilty for not being more loving toward myself and nice to others," said one. "I hadn't just seen what I had done, but I felt and knew the repercussions of my actions. I felt the injury or pain of those who suffered because of my selfish or inappropriate behavior," another said. Respondents also mentioned intensified awareness to details, vividness, and color. You become aware of every single piece that led to this moment in every single way. It's that detailed if you want to focus there, being able to see those layers and details. For some people, they said it felt like a dream, while to others, they emphasized its reality. It did feel real. I felt like an observer watching my life. The scenes felt like they were taking place right then and there. Some observed the life review experience from a third-person perspective, with others saying, "It feels like I'm in more than one place at the same time." And interestingly, for some people, they even experienced the life review experience through an altered experiencer, through another person's perspective. I experienced this through her. I was on the receiving end. I was viewing it through her perspective. I received my own actions and the consequence of my own actions, one respondent said. Now what about those images Tony saw as he fell from the roof? The different places around the world, and the faces of children. Did he really see into his own future? After the accident, Tony woke up in hospital. He had hit his head so hard in the fall that he could have died from the impact. But the images he'd seen when falling would not go away and kept flashing back every time he closed his eyes.
These images kept flashing back. And it was almost like every time I closed my eyes, these images, they were there. But the one that really stuck in my mind is me playing the instrument. They really haunted me because it was almost like I'm being shown something.
He kept it to himself because he couldn't understand it, but the fall had altered his attitude to life forever.
My initial thing was, look, you're not dead, okay? You didn't die. Now, I think life is trying to tell you something. And never done music in my life, yet here's me contemplating using my compensation money to go and buy an instrument.
And the instrument he had seen in his visions? He'd never seen it before. He searched the music books, and there, on the page, was a description of a shiny woodwind instrument made of brass and with a conical shape. That was it. The saxophone. In early 1982, Tony did indeed end up buying his first saxophone, and after walking back into his family home carrying his new piece of musical treasure, his mother looked at him strangely, still unaware of what Tony had seen in his vision. His parents didn't understand why and tried to talk him out of it.
I said, I can't go back. You know, they don't understand why, but I said to them, if I go back, then I might as well have died in that fall.
Unable to pay for lessons, Tony began to teach himself how to play the saxophone by ear through listening to records. But his initial attempts did not produce the sound the saxophone is famous for. But he kept on practicing, first for 2 hours, then 5, then for 8 to 10 hours a day. Eventually, around 1986 to 1987, he approached a college in Nottingham renowned for its music and performance arts training, but was told he could not be accepted because he hadn't completed any musical grades or examinations due to being self-taught. Then on a whim, he posted his application to Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts, a center of musical excellence.
They auditioned me first, but yeah, they eventually took me.
And in 1988, at the age of 24, a scared and excited Tony set off to study music in America. Upon returning to England, he worked on his first album, All Is Know, which won the Parliamentary Jazz Award and the BBC Jazz Award in 2005. And those other images he saw as he fell from the roof? The different places around the world and the faces of children?
It's all come to pass. You know, I have 3 wonderful children and also a grandfather 3 weeks ago. So it's all come to pass, and I've traveled all around the world. I work with some of the greatest musicians.
When your life flashes before your eyes, what will you see? Will it be filled with regret? Or will it be something you're proud of? Will it be memories of things you overcame to become the person you were destined to be? Or memories of you taking the easy way out? Will it be a movie you want to watch or something you'd regret? Every day is a new day, Every moment is a new moment. That's why you have to show you're a different person now than you were yesterday. Why? Because the clock runs too fast. We don't get these moments back. Time stops for no one. Don't ever let a day go by that you waste, because that's a day you'll never get back. Make sure nothing's taken away from this moment, because that's all we got. You're writing the story of your life right now. One day your life will flash before your eyes. Make sure it's worth watching.